2023 has undoubtedly been one of the best years in gaming. We got this, and this, and this, and this. Oh, wait, I mean this? And for Souls-like fans such as myself, it's been no different. While From Software's only output this year was Armored Core 6, which from what I hear is a vast departure from the likes of Dark Souls and Elden Ring, a number of third parties have picked up the slack while we all desperately await the release of Shadow of the Erdtree. Lies of P is like a Frankenstein monster of all the big FromSoft games. We got the spooky gothic vibes from Bloodborne. We got the prosthetic arm from Sekiro. The weapon art / Ashes of War from Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring. Throw that all in a pot and season with some punchy and satisfying combat, and you got yourself a tasty 3-course meal that the whole family will enjoy. The game borrows its setting from the classic tale of Pinocchio, where you play as the titular puppet with a knack for lying. Though this time the puppets are everywhere and they've gone rogue and started killing all the humans. A few familiar faces show up like Geppetto, the creator of the puppets, and Jiminy Cricket, who in a classic case of hey can I copy your homework is renamed as Gemini. Other cool things include the P organ, where you can customize your build to focus on different aspects of combat, and the Pulse Cell, which is like your Estus Flask. Not only is this better than the blood vials in Bloodborne that you end up having to grind for, but it also does this cool thing where if you use up all your heals, it goes into discharge mode. You gradually regain a use by attacking enemies, but you can also make a build around gaining benefits while you're discharged. There are a few things that fall short for me. I'm not totally sold on the weapon assembly system. Basically, most weapons come with both a blade and a handle, and these can be swapped between each other to make a large number of combinations. However, I found that the default configuration for most weapons to be the best anyway, and as for the special boss weapons, they have unique skills that prevent you from disassembling them. Annoyingly, you have to teleport back to the hub to level up for most of the game. It sucked in Bloodborne, and it sucks here. Especially when they give you the ability to level up at the Stargazers and then take it away shortly after. Lies of P's answer to weapon durability is the Grinder, which lets you repair your weapons whenever you want. It does look cool, and you can apply some status effects too while you do it, but I don't really know why they didn't just have your weapon not degrade at all. It's just annoying in every game that it's in. I was going to mention that the stamina regeneration was way too slow, until I realized that it's based on your weight ratio. So all I'll say is that if you want to avoid this, keep that bad boy below 60%. All in all, the game was a little on the shorter side. It took me about 20 hours to beat it, but it was definitely a high quality experience all the way through. You can't really go wrong with this one. Man, Lords of the Fallen is like the most unpolished diamond I've ever seen. I really like this game, but it's also super jank, and I think that'll throw a lot of people off. First off, I really dig that they went all in on the dark fantasy aesthetic, and all the environments, weapons, armors, and bosses all look super cool. And it has this cool gimmick where there's a hidden world called the Umbral you can enter, either by dying or using your Umbral lamp. This world has platforms or ladders to new areas and hidden items, but also more enemies, and if you stay too long, you'll be hunted by this freak. This adds a nice risk-reward element, whilst also innovating on the interconnected level design made famous by the Souls series. However, the gameplay itself just feels kind of off. Movement is really floaty, and your dodge roll distance is massive to the point where you don't feel like you have total control of where you're going. As for the combat, animations aren't the greatest quality, and enemies often don't react to you hitting them, making the whole ordeal feel clunky at times. And they commit the egregious sin of having so many of the bosses also appearing as regular enemies. Plenty of Souls games have done this in the past, like with Capra Demon in Dark Souls 1, but it's way more noticeable in Lords when you fight a regular version of a boss you defeated like 5 minutes ago. Anyway, back to the good stuff. You can do this. Onto the slightly less exciting ways of killing enemies. There certainly are plenty of them. The weapon variety is pretty deep here, with dual wielding, ranged weapons, magic, throwables. And speaking of throwables, they're also no longer consumable, but instead act similar to magic and regenerate when you rest, which means when I get the Holy Hand Grenade...
We have the Holy Hand Grenade!
Yes, of course! The Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch!
I can throw that sucker all day long.
And Saint Attila raised the hand grenade up on high, saying, O Lord, bless this thy hand grenade, that with it thou mayst blow thine enemies to tiny bits in thy mercy. And the Lord did grin, and the people did feast upon the lambs, and sloths, and carp, and anchovies, and orangutans, and breakfast cereals, and fruit bats.
This is a big game, clocking in at about 40 hours for me, and that's not even counting a whole area I missed on my first playthrough. It also lends itself well for multiple playthroughs with an unlockable class for each ending, so if you're looking for something that'll last you a while, this is the one for you. In Star Wars Jedi Survivor, you can be a Jedi with a gun. And that's all you need to know. Wolong Fallen Dynasty suffers from the same problem as Carl Havoc.
There's too much fucking shit on me, I can't breathe.
This game is very overwhelming with the amount of abilities it gives you to use in combat, and it takes quite a while to get used to what button combination does what, or even to remember what you can do in the first place. That all being said, I won't be totally negative. The standout feature of Wolong is the Spirit Gauge, which is an interesting twist on the usual stamina bar. Instead of being a bar that starts full and is gradually depleted from actions, the Spirit Gauge starts at 0 and can go either positive or negative. You gain Spirit by landing light attacks and deflecting enemy hits, and lose it by taking damage or spending it to perform a special ability. If you or an enemy's Spirit Gauge hits the lowest point, they become stunned and open to a fatal strike. This makes combat feel like an elegant dance of maintaining your own Spirit Gauge while reducing your opponent's. It's also interesting that your magic and special moves are all tied into the same meter that you use to block and dodge, which is usually reserved for a separate mana bar. Animations feel great, especially when you successfully deflect an enemy's attack and hit him with a counter. It's just as satisfying as performing a death blow in Señor. There are 5 stats in Wolong, and each one is tied to an element of magic: fire, water, earth, wood, and metal. They all have their own favourite weapons, playstyles, and skill trees for magic spells. One thing I do like is that all 5 stats increase your health, with wood increasing it more than the others, so you don't have to give up putting points into damaging stats in favour of survivability. This may either be a positive or a negative depending on who you are, but Wolong doesn't exactly have the fully open-ended world that you'd expect from a Souls game. Instead, it chooses to break up areas into separate levels, and while there is a bit of the whole opening shortcuts to earlier areas, it's definitely a different experience. Each level has a number of flags to claim that act like your bonfires, but they also contribute to another mechanic, the morale system. As you kill enemies, you increase your morale rank, which is kind of like a temporary character level that is unique for each area. Enemies all have their own levels, and if they're higher than your morale, you're going to have a hard time fighting them. When you die, your morale rank gets reset, but as you capture flags around the map, you increase the minimum that it can be, giving you a safety net should you die again. I think the best way to engage with Wolong is to try out each of the abilities, find which ones you like best, and stick to using those, even if it means unequipping the ones that you won't use.
We did way too much!
If you're looking to get just one of these games, I'd say Lies of P is probably your safest bet. It's unique, fun to play, and performs the best compared to the others. However, I will say that I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Lords of the Fallen. If you're into the dark fantasy setting of Dark Souls, and can look past its flaws, it's definitely worth checking out. Wolong is a cool one to try if you want to see some fresh ideas, and Jedi Survivor is good if you like Star Wars and want to shoot some clankers. What was your favourite Souls-like of 2023? Was it one of the ones I mentioned, or something totally different? Let me know in the comments below. If you want more Souls content, I stream Souls-like games every Sunday over on Twitch, so be sure to come by and share in my pain and misery. Thank you so much for watching till the end, and I'll catch you nerds next time.